Everyone loves to overcomplicate discipline, but the truth is, it is super simple. It is stupidly simple. Discipline is a skill that you and I can in fact learn. It is not innate, it is not gifted to only the elites. It is our responsibility to develop. How do I know this? Because I went from being undisciplined and inconsistent with everything to that being my only superpower. Showing up every single day, no matter how boring the task is. You can sit me down, give me a task that I hate to do, and I'd be able to do that for literally weeks on end without even saying a word, because I've learned that the ability to show up time and time again, even when you don't feel like it, is in fact how you become successful. So I want to show you the 10 mindset shifts that completely turned everything around for me. Let's get into it. Number one, start small. Everyone can make a macro goal. Seriously, literally anyone can do that. That's why New Year's resolutions exist. But if you just sit there and say, I want to become a professional athlete, or I want to learn how to play the guitar, or I want to become in my best shape, or I want to become my family's first millionaire, that means nothing, because the ability to actually achieve that is so low, right? It is incredibly difficult for even the highest performers in the world. But the truth is, the secret that the highest performers use is they actually break that down into its smallest component. They go and reverse engineer it more and more until they're left off with a task that is super simple, that's almost laughable, because when you can accomplish that initial task, it gives you two things. One, momentum, and two, confidence, because you've been able to follow through with the commitment long after the emotion in which you originally set that commitment in subsided. That's the trick. You have to be really faithful to the process, because when you initially start, and let's say you break down a micro goal and you're thinking to yourself, I want to become a better partner in my relationship. That's a huge macro goal. So then you think to yourself, how do I break that down into its most finite component? Then you're thinking, okay, well, my girlfriend hates it when I am unorganized and I don't necessarily plan the dates, right? Then it's like your responsibility to say, cool, that's where I want to start. But even that, becoming organized is a big macro goal, especially if your whole life you've been unorganized. So you keep breaking that down. And maybe the first minute step that you take is making your bed every morning, because you don't do that. You don't follow through with that commitment. In your brain, you're going to think, how is that actually going to lead to being a better partner? But you have to be faithful to the process, because once you achieve that for a set allotted time, let's say a full week's worth, then you can progressively overload and do something a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging, and you build upon that discipline. You start to tackle on that next task once you start having the momentum and the positive force of saying, cool, I can do this, I'm confident in my ability, I'm competent. But that compounded over the span of weeks, months, years is how you really get ahead. Number two, motivation is a trap. Look, when you have this heightened emotional state, use it. Take full advantage of it. It's an incredible thing that you probably get a few times throughout a month, maybe a few times throughout the year if you're really in a lull, and take advantage of it. You should feel good about it. You should set standards for yourself. But the issue that most people go through is that they either wait for motivation, but that's kind of already been known by everyone. But I want to talk about a silent killer here. A silent killer is when you are extremely motivated, you set up such a high bar that the next time when you're not motivated and you really have to rely on discipline, that bar is so hard to obtain, to actually come to. And then what happens is that you cause this mental chaos in your brain, because you're like, oh, when I was motivated, I ran a marathon, and now I can't get myself, because I feel bad about myself, to run, let's say, even a mile. It's because in that motivated state, you crafted such a high standard, and that's the silent killer. That's what makes people feel guilty about themselves. So instead, when you're feeling good, just be smart about where that energy is going. So instead of you saying, okay, it's 3 a.m., I have this heightened urge to do something, become my family's first millionaire, so I'm gonna work the next 7 hours, pull an all-nighter, and start this business of mine, only for the next day to not be able to show up because you're so tired. Instead, in that first 7 hours, use that motivation. Use it to actually plan, to use it to build structure, to be able to build an environment that's conducive to your success, both digitally and physically. So maybe physically, you're actually organizing your desk so that the next morning it's easier for you to subject yourself to the work. Or let's say you're actually pulling up the tabs that's necessary. If it's a Google Doc or an Excel sheet, and you've developed a structure around it. Or let's say that you developed a calendar for yourself so that every single day you're allocating 15 or 20 minute blocks, and it's very effective in how you've done that. That is how you use motivation the right way. It's not by putting in all this immense work and you thinking that that is going to last, because it won't. Instead, if you are feeling heightened in motivation, great, use it, but use it effectively. Before we move on to the next point, just a quick little note. For the first 2 hours when this video is live, I will be responding to every single one of your comments. It's been something really cool that I've been engaging in the last few videos, and I've loved the conversations solutions that have been developed here. So I want you to tell me which one out of these 10 mindset shifts were the most relevant to you, what was most meaningful to you, and tell me why, and I'll be sure to respond. Now let's move on to the next point. Number 3, identity comes first. This is one that I never really understood how important it was, but I'm about to talk about some things that might make me sound delusional. I actually, in fact, when I watch, let's say, literally the most successful people in the world, I think I can do that. Even when I watch, let's say, professional athletes, I'm like, I could do that. If you give me enough time to train, there's an actual part of me that believes I can, in fact, be a professional athlete. Now, you might think that's crazy. I look at that as an immense level of confidence or faith that I can actually put in the work and show up when most people won't. That type of what you might call delusion is identity. It's the ability to say, you know what, when those difficult things happen, I can show up. You know what, those biggest goals that everyone has, I can be that person that accomplishes it. Because the truth is, if someone else out there in the world has accomplished something, it means that it's not unrealistic for you to achieve the same. And I need you to believe that. I need you to have this immense sense of belief that you can, in fact, be your family's first millionaire. You can't just say, I want it without believing it. And then how do you actually do that? Well, that's where you come into play with this idea of crafting foundational proof, right? So the reason why we started off with actually starting small and making these micro goals is so that you can actually formulate this confidence and this identity because you have this stack of proof that you are exactly who you say that you are. Number 4, design your environment so it's conducive to your success. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, if you want to be a successful student, if you want to be a successful partner, make sure that your environment actually enables you to do that. Discipline and this willpower that you think is just endless, limitless, it's not true. You have a limited amount of willpower. And if you don't need to expend it, don't. If you are trying to run more outdoors, right, but your running sneakers are, let's say, shoved down your closet in a corner that you have no idea where it is, right, probably not conducive to your success. If you left your training shoes out, so that's right by the door and ready for you when you wake up, great. Maybe you actually have a bottle of water right next to your shoes and you're like ready to go right when you wake up. You're like, cool, that's the first thing that I do. If it is that you're trying to be a better student and you're realizing that you keep procrastinating on your work, if I look at your computer and you have like 10 tabs open, one of them being Netflix, one of them being Amazon, one of them being your favorite shopping store, whatever the case may be, it's not conducive to your success. Versus if you open up your laptop, it was that tab that you needed open, maybe even a post-it note that outlines exactly what you need to achieve, and your phone in a completely different room. That is how you set yourself up for success. Again, physically and digitally. Number 5, the 2-minute rule. If you can accomplish something in 2 minutes, just do it. What I've realized over time is that it's not necessarily that these tasks individually are super difficult, but it's because they've accumulated in our brain and they're taking up so much of our mental capacity. So if I was to, let's say, review something for the team, it might literally just take me 2 minutes to do, but because I keep procrastinating on it, it just compiles up in my brain. So although it's not that difficult of a task, over the span of a day, by the end of it, I'm exhausted because I'm constantly trying to juggle all these thoughts and I'm thinking to myself, oh wait, I was supposed to do that. Oh man, now I have to accomplish this right now. It's like 10 p.m. at night. Instead, the 2-minute rule states that if it can be achieved in 2 minutes, just do it. Just do it in that moment. And I promise you, you're going to allow yourself more of that willingness, that desire, that even just general, let's say, willpower to achieve the more difficult things later on. Number 6, discipline seriously is a skill. It is not a trait. Not only do I have to have you believe that, but you have to really understand what this means. A skill means something that needs to be practiced daily. You don't become a great guitarist by only picking up the guitar once, right? You're not going to become disciplined by only watching this video once. You should save it. You should watch multiple times over again when you need the reminder, and then you should practice implementing it. Discipline is a skill. A skill meaning not every day is supposed to be perfect either. There's going to be days that you fall short. That's part of the building of a skill. Nobody has to become great at a skill by being perfect at it. It's the willingness to say, oh my gosh, I messed up once again. Let me get back on the horse and keep trying. That is discipline. Like that actual act of you getting back on the horse after inevitably failing is the secret, is the truth to this. What I want you to understand is that discipline is a skill. You must practice it on a regular basis, and when you fall off course, it is inevitable. That is how everyone experiences it, but your willingness to get back on the horse is what will actually separate you in the long run. Number 7, track the right things. If you are constantly tracking these output measures that you literally have no control over at your skill level, you will continuously fall in this downward spiral. Meaning that if you are trying to become the next big creator, right? And you want to grow 1 million followers, you're probably not going to have an output metric of increase in followers. That's probably not a smart thing to do, because you'll continuously fall down this downward spiral when you're realizing, oh my gosh, this is really hard. But your input should be, okay, how many posts can I get done? How often am I showing up? How many comments or DMs am I responding to? That should be your metric for success, and measure that. So maybe you have a calendar, or maybe you use a Notion tracker, and what it shows you is that you've been able to be consistent in showing up, not necessarily having every single analytic and trying to overanalyze everything, because you're not ready for that yet. You're going to cause yourself so much headache. Instead, just think about, can I show up today? Can I show up tomorrow? Can I ensure that even when I don't feel like it, that I know how to craft content that's efficient? That is the thing you should be focusing on. So when you are in this undisciplined, in this rut state, the worst thing you could possibly do is set an expectation or set a goal or set a metric that's impossible to control. That makes it incredibly difficult for you to find any momentum. And so I encourage you to think about that goal that you have, but think about what's actually the input that you can control, so that you have something that you can track in real time that shows you that you're making progress and you don't fall into that downward spiral. Number 8, make failure part of the plan. Failure will happen. Failure is normal. Failure is awesome. Failure is great. Failure is the best thing ever. I don't know how many times to say that, because we've been conditioned and programmed to think that failure is somehow wrong. Maybe it's because we were growing up and if we got an F, then we would be punished, right? Maybe that's the thought, but something in our brains, and it's mine as well, when I think about failure, I don't know why, but my brain immediately jumps into thinking that's a bad thing. But I think about every breakthrough I had in my entire life, it's been on the back end of failure, right? Failure is innate to the human experience, and you must recognize that. So it's okay, because you've been conditioned your whole life to think and have this like weird feeling inside of your tummy to say, I don't like this, I don't like this. But take a second to realize that all of your breakthroughs in your life so far is probably on the back end of failure. Failure teaches you quite a lot. Actually, failure probably teaches you a lot more than successes do. And it's important that you recognize when something bad is happening, that it's needed, it's necessary. And you can look at it, if you're crazy like me, maybe with a smile, like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for this. This is the thing I was waiting for. I had a message with my co-founder, and he sent me over something. And it was really funny because he sent me something that was, I think he was going to make me like upset because it was something that went wrong. But I looked at it and I laughed and I was like, cool, like I'm excited. And he's like, what do you talk about? I'm like, that's it. That's the juice. Like if we fail at something, I know there's something good that's going to happen on the back end, because you and I were not going to give up. The only time failure is ever a bad thing is if you give up. Number 9, the power of routine. Mel Robbins has a great quote that reads, never let your mood dictate what you do. Always take action first, because movement changes your mood. It's phenomenal. And it's a thought behind when you are in movement, it's a lot easier to stay in that momentum, right? Versus if you don't have a routine and you just wake up, you start scrolling on your phone and you just let your day kind of pass you, it is really hard to get out of that initial state. And so instead, if you can start making momentum for yourself initially right out of the get-go, when you wake up, the better off you are. By the time it comes to 12 p.m. or 3 p.m. or 5 p.m., you're not necessarily subjugated to as much temptation. You don't feel it as much because you've already established a consistent, let's say, pattern of behavior. And so if you are looking for a routine, the best way to do it is craft something super simple that's actually practical, right? Something that you can follow through with on a regular basis, because all I want you to do in the morning is not have your phone around, start taking action, and then give yourself these check-ins or like anchor points throughout the day that allows yourself to know what to look forward to. If you, let's say, have a strong morning routine, I mean like the first 30 minutes kind of structured, 45 minutes, and then maybe you have an afternoon period, a little bit more structured, and then you have your night routine structured. I think that's it. Like, you don't need something that is cemented every single hour of your day, but having that type of structure around you can be really effective and be conducive to your discipline. Number 10, reward your effort, not just the results. Sometimes results are not fully in your control, meaning that sometimes you got lucky. And if you're only rewarding yourself at the end of that, you're missing the point. We just said discipline is the ability to show up on a regular basis. So reward that effort. When you are in the process and things aren't going well, even a mental reward of being kind to yourself and letting that inner demon voice kind of stop for a second, and you say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I got a bad grade, but I did show up. I know it was hard, but that Friday night when I really wanted to go out, I still stuck to my promise. You know what? Yeah, I mean, we didn't get as many sales as we wanted to today, but it didn't mean that we didn't prepare properly. We showed up. We did all the meetings that we needed to do, and we made sure to go through all the different plans, and we tried our very best with the limited knowledge that we had at that time. We'll get better from here. You know what? This relationship isn't going the way that I thought it was, but I tried and I really did my very best. Great. Reward that effort, because the more you do, the more success you'll actually allow yourself to have eventually. But then this reward, this like positive thought, is not just a result of the success. It's the result of the hard work or the pain or the sacrifices that you've endured throughout the period. And that type of input, again, is so much more in control than maybe an output or a result that might have been luck, might have been a resultant of your effort, but still make sure that the effort is always something that you congratulate yourself and have pride over. That's the thing that will continue to sustain your success in the long run. And that wraps up the 10 mindset shifts that have completely turned it around for me, and I hope that it was helpful for you. Leave any comment below if you want me to respond to it. Give this video a thumbs up, and of course, subscribe. With that being said, guys, I will see you all at the top.